Hi everyone. Today I am getting back to basics. I've got so many new subscribers that I thought I would try and do one that's a little simpler just because it's one color. That's it. Purple Twilight, the Tim Holtz Ranger brand ink in Purple Twilight, which I absolutely love this color. This is on 9x12 yupo. And I used 99% isopropyl alcohol and my ever-present Pinata brass. Alright, so starting out, you can see on this one I didn't dry the ink like I have on the last couple that videos that I've done. Put down just one drop of the Purple Twilight and then a drop of the brass on top of it and then the alcohol in all of it. Now, if you are new to this and you're doing this on yupo, be aware that Purple Twilight is one of the colors that will stain. It stains your yupo kind of a bluish color underneath, which I love. It adds depth and, just really adds something to it. It looks much better than if you just took the Purple Twilight and did it on, the Nara or something like that doesn't stain. I just think it's a very cool look. There are certain colors that I love to use like that, that will stain a different color underneath and kind of changes the color of your ink. It sort of absorbs certain shades out of your ink, particularly blues. Tend to sort of soak into the yupo and leave you with more pinks on top. So anyway, so I just put that down, then put the alcohol down on it and started moving that around, spreading it out a little bit. And that's what I kept on doing there, is just kind of kept spreading it out and trying to get it dry. Started working at the edges a little bit. My original thought was I was just going to do this extremely simple and just use that one drop and spread it out into a painting, which can be done, or at least this is a little bit lighter. It would be a little tricky to do it with this one because it is fairly light. You'd kind of end up losing a lot of, you'd have a little too much negative space with one drop, but with 2 or 3 drops you could do an entire painting. So that was my original plan, and that's how I started out. Was going to spread this out as much as I could and wispy the edges really good. And then I decided, I realized it wasn't really going to work, and so I added another drop off to the side and tried to do that, and I just didn't like where it was going, so I did change up the entire painting, as you'll see a little bit later on, but I still only stuck with the Purple Twilight for this. Alright, a question that I was asked on a Facebook group, which I think I've touched on before in this, but it's probably been a while. But the question was, how do I get these wispy edges that don't have the hard line around the outside edge of my ink? And the secret to that is keeping the alcohol on the outside edge of your ink. If you watch what I do, you'll see me at times when my ink and alcohol are still wet, I'll come to that outside edge and add more alcohol. You don't want to let your ink dry on that outer edge until you get a chance to blow it back in. And the more alcohol that's out there, the easier it is to make sure that it doesn't dry and leave you that kind of hard line out there. This is one of the drawbacks to doing a voiceover rather than doing it to telling you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. because I kind of have to watch what I'm doing now since I'm doing the voiceover and try and just notice so I can say, oh, look there, see, I was doing that there. Or one of these days I'm going to figure out there's got to be a way, some kind of a headset or something that I can use where I can use while I'm painting so that you all can hear me. No, you can have a banana. Sorry. I have a hungry one. And totally broke my train of thought. Now I'm thinking about bananas. Let's see. Oh, the girls are endlessly hungry. They think they're dying of starvation, even if they just finished eating. All right. I might have done that here with the alcohol on the outside edge, but I had looked away because Maddie was telling me she was hungry and she needed some candy, so managed to talk her into a banana instead, luckily. Let's see. What? Tell Papa I said it's okay. Alright, sorry about that. Hey, any of you all who have ever had kids or grandkids or just nieces and nephews know it's pretty much impossible to get much in the way of uninterrupted time to do things a lot of times. So, let's see. All right, well, anyway, you can kind of see there how I do try to make sure that alcohol stays on the outside. I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. It's difficult to explain in words what I'm talking about. At least it is to me. I'm sure somebody could come up with some wonderful explanation. Make a border with your alcohol out there. And now you want it to still be touching your ink. I did that right there. You see, I came back and put another drop of alcohol out at the edge as I started blowing, because I realized that my ink was going to touch my paper. Okay, that sounds really stupid, but that's about the best way I can think of. I always try to keep some at least fairly clear alcohol at the outer edge of what you're working, because that's what will keep your ink from settling onto your paper and making that line. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry I can't think of a better way to put that. But you see, I'm blowing the ink out right there, and then I blow it right back in because I don't want it to dry. Now, this one I kind of struggled with a little bit. Just it was wanting to dry. It's a little harder on yupo to do this than it is on, or it is for me anyway, because of the staining. It gets a little bit harder not to leave that outer edge. There we go. See, look, I realized that my ink was going to dry, so I put some alcohol down at that outer edge of where it was at and started blowing it back in towards the center of the area that I was working. And I come at it from the sides. You got to go, you see I'm jumping around back and forth there from side to side. I don't like to only blow mine straight back, because I feel like you just don't get some of the really pretty folds and lines that you might get when you're blowing from the sides and from the outside part in. I just think that for me, that's what I like better. Now, you can do it the other way. You don't have to touch your sides, but it will be a lot simpler if you do. One other thing I want to mention, because I'm just kind of doing the same thing here as what I have been. I'm, just working these outer edges and wisping them back in towards, whichever direction I had decided I wanted to go with it at that time. But real quickly, one thing I've been seeing or hearing a lot of from people is having problems getting that thinner line in the center of your painting. part of the problem that a lot of people are having is you're using too much ink and too much metallic. And that's another reason I wanted to try and do one like this, to show you that it really does not take much ink to make an entire painting. And then I changed everything up and I used a whole lot more ink. So I kind of blew that. But, but I did turn it into one that had a line in the middle. So you can kind of see exactly what I do. I hadn't done one this style in quite a while. And I hadn't even realized that it had been that long since I had done one kind of like this. So I'm sorry about that. This is one of the styles that I really like to do. But I had gotten so into trying new things that I kind of forgot my old favorites. So, this was a good one to kind of do, like I said, and get back to basics for me. But now y'all can see this. It's not, I already wasn't loving it. I was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of looking like a hot mess. And I didn't mean to get 2 drops down right there. It just kind of dripped extra fast there. Then I did this exact same thing here. I just worked my way that direction with my ink and alcohol, and would dry it and spread it out, and then put down 1 more drop and dry that, and then start working it, spreading it out and thinning the edges. But let me also mention another thing that I've had a few people mention is they will get little flakes or little speckles of ink in their painting, and they can't figure out where it's coming from or what's doing it, and wondering if they got a bad bottle of ink. Well, I mean, that's entirely possible, but I would say 99% of the time, if you're having that happen, you probably have dried ink around the threads in your bottle lid, like on the threads that are on your ink bottle and up in your bottle lid. You just need to clean it out with some alcohol and get that out of there, because that will happen occasionally. I have to clean mine every now and then to keep that from happening. One other thing, what was it? I've had so many questions lately that I wanted to be sure to kind of get to in this video, and my notepad has disappeared, where I write down ideas for things that I might want to try, or questions that I want to be sure that I answer on a video, because there's, it's especially because there's not just one person having the problem. Anytime you all feel bad about asking me a question, or feel like, maybe that's a dumb question, trust me, none of you yet have asked me a question that I have not been asked multiple times across every platform that I have something on. So do not ever feel bad about asking me a question. They're almost always the same. Everyone has pretty much the exact same types of issues. So, don't ever feel bad about it. Just, you might go back and watch my frequently asked questions videos. There's a couple of them on there now. A lot of your questions are answered on those videos. I've had several questions lately about how I seal my paintings. So I'll get to that. I'll tell you that real quickly before I start doing something different on this one here, on this painting. I use the Camar Varnish by Krylon. You need to use that first. Just put down a few light coats of it. Make sure you let it dry between each coat. You want to put that down first, because that will seal your ink so that it won't reactivate. Because what you need to put next will reactivate your inks if you're not. Actually, they'll probably reactivate it. I don't care how careful you are. The Krylon UV Archival Spray is what I use next. And I use the gloss. It comes in semi-gloss and matte. Pick whatever you want. But I use the gloss on mine. Then you just want to put down, after your, all your layers of Camar dry, you want to put down a few layers of the UV Archival, because that will help protect the ink from fading. because alcohol inks are not UV stable. There is no, UV inhibitor in there anywhere, so they will fade in the sunlight or even in strong overhead lights. And it's no artwork is ever recommended to be in sunlight. So, no matter what you do to it, it's going to fade. Even acrylics and oils and things, they will fade in sunlight. But alcohol inks, definitely are bad for that. So make sure you really, really need to get some UV protection on it somehow or other. It does not have to be that UV Archival that I use. If you want to use it, for those of you in the U.S., I know you can get it in the U.S. As far as other countries, I'm not sure. I don't know about shipping things like that from the U.S. too, and it might not be cost effective for you with the different customs charges and things like that. But there are links down below in the drop-down description box to the Camar and the UV Archival that I use from Amazon. That's where I get mine from, is just off of Amazon. So that will be down below in the description box, along with what's usually down there, the links to the hairdryer that I use and my most frequently used items, some of the graphics craft plastic and some yupo pads. I use the Legion brand yupo. That's just my favorite one. It's very super smooth. I like the way that works. So check that out if you guys are needing any supplies. I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do get a tiny little commission off of things that y'all buy through those links, which I really, really appreciate those of you who do that. It really does help. It helps keep my channel going, keeping me buying art supplies and things for all of this. And while I'm on the subject of my channel, subscribers are still creeping up there. Thank you, all of you who have been subscribing and who have subscribed a long time ago. I really appreciate it. It's kind of looking like I'm going to hit the 5,000 subscriber mark somewhere right around the time of my 1 year anniversary of my first video that I posted on YouTube. So, as I mentioned in my last video, if you've seen it, if you're watching this in April of 2020, I am going to do a giveaway for all of you, and I'm going to have 2 prizes. I will do 2 separate drawings in the giveaway, and I will let you know when it gets time. I'm going to do it right around the time I hit 5,000, or when I hit my 1 year mark, whichever comes first, which I actually have to look back up. It's sometime in May, but I can't remember exactly what day it was now. So, keep that in mind. Keep checking back, because I will be announcing it in a video. So, because I don't want to have a bunch of people just subscribing or entering the video or entering the giveaway because they saw a video that says I'm doing a giveaway on that's the only thing the video was. So I don't know if you get what I'm saying or not. I want this video to be for you all, my viewers, who really help support my channel, who watch my videos, who shop through my Amazon links. I want it to be for you all. I don't want to be for random Joe Blow out there who just saw that there was a giveaway listed in a video title, so they decided to enter the giveaway, even though they've never painted in their life, or I don't want that. I want it to be for you all, my supporters here. But I will let y'all know more about that as it gets close to time. All right, see what I'm doing here. I had reached the point of, I really don't like this, so I'm doing something else. And I already had kind of a line going just from the way that I had worked it at that end. So I decided to change it up and do one of my, I don't know what you call it, signature piece. That's probably what my family would call it, because this is a style that I have done a lot of. They've seen a whole lot more of these than you all have. So, all right. So I make a dark line with my ink. I just put down the ink first, no alcohol with it, just the ink, and spread the ink out and try and keep my ink a little bit thin, or not thin as in with alcohol, but a thin line of the ink. I didn't want a wide line through there. I tried to keep it a little small. And I don't usually start in the center like this. Normally I would start at one end and work my way to the center and then flip it around and start from the other end and work my way back to the center again from that end. But because of this kind of hot mess I had going on the paper, I did not do this in the order that I kind of normally would work something like this. All right, so what I do here, I get my ink down, get it dry. Then I take and oh, by the way, I did not put any more brass in this. I did it without adding any extra to it. I just didn't want it. I just wanted to see the colors that I have. I'm sorry, I hope y'all can't hear them. They're fussing and yelling with each other out there. I wanted to see the colors of the ink more. I didn't want a bunch of metallic in this one. And I already had some shimmer to it, as you can see from where I put it down when I was initially working on the painting. So, all right, now back to what I was trying to get at was, all right, so I put my alcohol, after my ink, I've got my strip of ink dry, put my alcohol right at the outer edge of where that, my dried ink line is. Just a little circle of alcohol right there. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot, but it depends on the size of your paper, how much you want to push your ink out, how wide you want that one section to be. There is no hard and fast answer for how much ink how much alcohol should I put down. And I've been asked that. How much should I put there? I don't know. It all depends. The size of your paper, the size you want your wisp, let's just call it that, the size you want your wisp to come out, if you want it really wide, if you want it to come out long, there's a lot of different factors. So that's something that you all just have to kind of play it by ear and figure out on your own. It just will take practice to know about how much you need to put down. And no matter how much you do it, you're not always going to get it 100% right. I don't. That's the reason I have to go back and add more ink at that outer edge out there part of the time, because I didn't get enough alcohol. Did I just say ink? Anyway, I have to go back and add more alcohol at the outer edge of my ink. I think that's what I meant to say. I don't know if that's what I said or not. Because I don't always put enough alcohol down initially to move it out as far as I want to get it moved. Okay, so since I started in the center, I did this it's a little different. The way that, like I said, I worked a little differently than I normally would. So in the center, I kind of had my wisps coming fairly perpendicular to my alcohol line. Came out just fairly straight on each side of it. Right at the moment, I was only working this one side much, but with, one or two lines there. I think I may have just only done one on this one. I can't remember. But then I start to angle it as I go towards the edge or towards the end of the line. I'll start angling it, and you'll kind of see what I mean. And that's just my taste. This is certainly not something you have to do. I'm just letting you know what I did in this. If you want to try to do one that looks like this, that's, just letting you know that that's what I generally do. So that when I get to the very ends, they are not exactly parallel to that dark line, but the angle has gotten much, much smaller. It's not a 90-degree angle anymore. The angle gets smaller the closer to the end of the dark line that I get. All right, here's one of the biggies. You see my line in there. You see how it's already getting thin. But I also haven't worked the other side yet, and you can get it too thin if you're not careful. And if you want a line there, you just kind of have to be careful to not run over top of it with your alcohol as you're blowing it back in, because you can actually just sort of erase your line if that's something you want. Just keep an eye out for that. When I blow the ink back in, I try to get it to come to a point for the most part. At some point, I want it to come sort of to a point, because I want one of those little tiny fingers of ink that you can get that drive you crazy and run across your painting and you don't want it to. Well, this time I want one. I'm trying to make one. And when I do, I very carefully steer it down the center of this painting. It's a little bit tricky to do, but you definitely can get the hang of it. Sorry, hearing a door slamming. Had one coming in mad at the other one. But you want to try to get that. See how I'm trying to keep the ink right there into that one little, pushing it into that one little spot, to where I can run that little spot. That's what I'm going to use to make my line with. And every time I create a wisp, I want to try to steer the ink that I'm pushing back in towards the center into that center line. Sort of, into and down. Or keep it, I like to try and keep it going the same direction, just depending on which side I'm coming from. And I'll usually, if this makes any sense. So I want to blow it, in and towards the center. Towards the center of the paper. The center of the line that I'm making. God, I know I'm making no sense. And I just don't know really how to explain it to you. There's a lot of things I know that you all may get frustrated because I don't tell you, but I don't know how. There's just certain things that I don't know how to explain to you what I do. It's, even if you're watching me do it, it's just really difficult to put it into words. So, you just have to practice and try. But I blow it back towards that center line and then down. I want to join up all those little fingers together to make a little road. And then when I turn it around and start working from the other end, then I'm going to take those fingers and blow them down towards the area that I just blew the others till they meet in the middle. Does that help? If I say you want them to eventually meet in the middle somewhere. That's about the best I can do on that one. It's just one of those things that I can't figure out how to really put into words with what I do. So, practice, practice, practice. That's a big thing. I hear a lot of people say, and not just here, not just talking to you all, but, and not even just to me, posts that I see frequently in some of the alcohol ink groups on Facebook, just random posts about people get so frustrated because, they've tried this several times now and they still can't get it. Well, if you've only tried it several times, and then you're nowhere near being able to get it, unless you're just one of the very few who picks it up incredibly fast. And there are a few people that do. But for the most part, there are people who have been doing this for weeks or months and still are struggling with getting this wispy, soft look, because it's just not easy. And don't get frustrated. It's it's just tricky to learn. And this hairdryer is not easy to use for those of you who are, well, it's easy to me now. So there's the other thing, practice, practice, practice. Wasn't easy for me to use when I first got it because the airflow on it on the cool setting is higher than what you are going to want initially. You're going to hit your ink with that and go, holy cow, because it's going to go flying all over your paper. So, that's where that frequently asked questions videos come in handy, because that's one of the biggest ones that I get and one of the biggest problems that people have is controlling their ink. So, watch those videos. That's my best advice to you, is watch those videos and practice, practice, practice. Get some photo paper, some cheap store brand photo paper. Use the backside. Make sure it's inkjet too. I use glossy inkjet. I usually use Office Depot or Kirkland brand. Use the backside, not the glossy front side. And practice. That way it's costing you maybe 10 cents for a sheet instead of, $2 or $3 for a sheet of paper. Especially with yupo, because it's going to stain and you're not even going to be able to wipe it off. But with the photo paper, if it turns out awful, throw it away. And then you're not wasting alcohol trying to clean it off. So just throw it away. And also, if you turn out something that you love on the photo paper, seal it and save it. You can still save it even if it's on photo. Photo paper is meant to last. So there is no reason why you can't you seal it exactly like you would if you were using yupo or any of the synthetic art papers. Just use the Camar varnish and then the UV Archival or something with, some good UV protection in it and frame it. And you've got, a great work of art that you created. So, but definitely, don't go all out and get a lot of expensive stuff to start with, because you do need to practice. It is going to take practice. Ceramic tile is something that some people practice on. Y'all are going to laugh. I can't paint on tile. I tried. I can't do it. I don't know why. I just can't do it. It's almost like it's too slick for me. It's like I'm not getting enough grip or something for my ink. And I know this sounds crazy, but I can't paint on tile. But anyway, you can go buy like 12 by 12 tiles if you want a big one. You can get little teeny ones that are 1 inch, or you can get all kinds of sizes. Just make sure it's a smooth, glossy tile and paint on it just like you would paper. You don't like what you did, take some alcohol, wipe it right off, and then you've got a clean slate to start over again. So, keep that in mind for things to practice on, the photo paper and the ceramic tile. Just make sure you get a smooth one, not the textured kind of tile. It needs to be a glossy, smooth, like a bathroom tile type thing. Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever kind of home improvement store you happen to have near you is an excellent place to look for those. Let's see. There's not... I was trying to think if there was anything else about this particular painting right here that I wanted to be sure to touch on. You'll see, I still get some shimmer from the brass that I used, but a lot of it that I put down, because I did go back and rework over top of everything, a lot of it kind of blended in with the ink and didn't, I don't have the kind of veins in this one that I normally would in a painting, just because I'm so sorry. Just because I had gone back and reworked it, adding more ink over top, and that will definitely kind of kill your metallic as far as the veins go. And that's another thing I've been getting a lot of questions about on here and on Facebook and on Instagram, is the metallic. I only use Pinata brass. Jacquard makes it. It's the Jacquard alcohol inks, the Pinata line, and brass is the metallic color. That's the only one that I use. I cannot get anything else to work for me the way Pinata brass does. Other people might tell you something different. If they found something that works, awesome, give it a try. But for me, I can't find anything that will make those little veins like Pinata brass. So if you're struggling with metallics and you're not using Pinata brass, trust me, it's worth the money to go ahead and just buy some. It's not, I mean, it comes in little like half-ounce bottles that are about the size of a regular alcohol ink bottle. And I can't remember how much the little bottles are now. Maybe $3 or $4 for a little half-ounce bottle. And it also comes in 4-ounce bottles, which is how, that's how I buy mine, is in 4-ounce bottles. And then I pour it out into the needle nose dropper that you all see me use a lot with that. So if you are brand new to this, I would suggest getting the half-ounce bottle. If you've been doing this for a while and you know you're going to keep on doing it and you're going to be using a lot of that brass, then I would recommend getting the 4-ounce bottle, because it is per ounce. It's a much better deal than the little tiny alcohol ink size bottle, particularly for me, because as you all have seen in some of my other paintings and videos, I do tend to use a whole lot of the brass. I am getting fairly close to finished with this painting. Just all I was doing here was going back and trying to fix a spot or two that I didn't like the way something looked, or if I had accidentally gotten one of those little fingers of ink that I didn't see when I was working that area. And sometimes I'm just trying to soften it up. If I have an edge that's too hard, or like that one, I had one of my wispies was not going the direction that I wanted it to go. So I kind of went back in with a little more of the alcohol and just reactivated it and reworked that part. Now, you don't want to do that too often, rework the same part over and over and over, because you do kind of lose something in your ink if you work it too many times. But you definitely can go back and work on things as you're going, But after a while, you start to lose the color out of your ink, especially if you're using the yupo. It just keeps absorbing it more and more, and you end up with a lot more pink than purple in a shade like this. So, I suggest to you all that you pick one color, and give it a shot. Try one like this. It's actually fairly simple. I know this video turned out to be a little on the longer side, although not as long as some lately, but it actually is very simple. The reason that it turned out longer was just because I made a hot mess out of my painting to start with and had to start, fixing that. So, but pick one color and practice with that one color. And then when you are confident in what you're doing, pick one more color that is complementary, and try painting with 2 colors. Because, once again, you're going to have another learning curve when you throw another color in there. When you have to learn to blend your colors. I don't recommend trying to start out with red and green in the same painting to start with, because you're just going to end up with kind of a muddy looking brown if you're not super careful about where the inks go. So that is about all there is to this one. I hope you all enjoyed this kind of trip back to basics, you know, nothing fancy here. Just one color, some yupo, and a hairdryer. So I really do hope that you all enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting back to this kind of simpler style of painting. And I will, you know, like I said, be happy to answer questions if y'all have any. Check out the frequently asked questions video before you know, ask me too in-depth stuff, because it's probably on one of those two videos. I know one is number 19 and I can't remember the other one, but alright, anyway, y'all have a great day and I will be back with you real soon. Bye.